I still remember the sting of it. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the conference room as Derek, our new boss, pointed at me from across the polished table. "Emma is a tool of the past," he announced to the entire design team. "Her methods are outdated. We need fresh blood to move Haven Ridge forward." 14 years of my life. 14 years of loyal work at this architecture firm, staying late, skipping vacations, pouring my heart into every blueprint. And in 10 seconds, Derek Sloan had reduced me to nothing. My cheeks burned as 20 pairs of eyes turned to me. Some looked away quickly, embarrassed for me. Others stared, waiting for my reaction. My hands trembled under the table, but I kept my face neutral. "Does anyone have questions about the new direction?" Derek continued, as if he hadn't just publicly shredded my dignity. The room stayed silent. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor. Part of me wanted to stand up and defend myself. Another part wanted to cry. Instead, I sat frozen, my mind racing with shock and hurt. After the meeting, people filed out, avoiding eye contact with me. I stayed in my chair, unable to move. One thought kept repeating in my head: do I swallow this humiliation, or do I fight back? The next morning, Derek called me into his office. I hoped for an apology. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and dropped another bomb. "Emma, we're adjusting your salary to match industry standards. It's being reduced by 40%, effective next month." He slid a paper across his desk. "Sign this by Friday, or we'll have to reconsider your position entirely." The room spun around me. A 40% cut would mean I couldn't pay my mortgage, couldn't afford my mom's medication, couldn't maintain the life I'd built through years of hard work. "Why?" I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. Derek shrugged. "The board feels your contribution doesn't justify your current salary. It's nothing personal." "Nothing personal?" After calling me a tool in front of everyone? "I need time to think," I said, standing up on shaky legs. "Friday, Emma, not a day later." He was already looking at his computer screen, dismissing me. I walked out of his office, clutching the paper. People glanced up as I passed, quickly looking away when they saw my face. I made it to the bathroom before the first tear fell. That night, I couldn't sleep. My entire future had been upended in just 2 days. I was organizing my desk when Linda knocked on my office door. As office manager, she'd been at Haven Ridge even longer than me. 17 years of dedicated service. "Got a minute?" she asked, her eyes red-rimmed. I nodded, and she closed the door behind her. "Let me guess," I said. "Salary cut?" Linda's face crumpled. "Worse. They're cutting my hours too. I'll lose my health insurance." Her voice broke. "My husband's medication costs $1,200 a month without coverage." My shock transformed into anger. This wasn't just about me. Derek and his corporate bosses from Axis Capital were gutting the heart and soul of our firm. "Have they done this to anyone else?" I asked. Linda nodded. "Thomas in junior design, Megan from coordination. Anyone who's been here over 5 years is getting hit." I suddenly understood. They weren't cutting costs. They were pushing out loyal employees to replace us with cheaper, younger staff. "This isn't right," I whispered. Linda squeezed my hand. "What can we do? Jobs aren't easy to find at our age." "I don't know yet," I replied. "But I'm not taking this lying down. Let's talk later, okay?" She nodded, hope flickering in her tired eyes. That evening, I called Mr. Beckett, Haven Ridge's original founder. He'd sold the firm to Axis Capital 3 years ago when he retired, but we still exchanged Christmas cards. "Emma, wonderful to hear from you," his warm voice answered. When I explained what was happening, silence filled the line. Finally he spoke, his voice heavy with regret. "Emma, I'm so sorry. When I sold Haven Ridge, they promised to preserve our values and take care of our people." He sighed deeply. "They lied to my face." "Did you sign anything requiring them to keep those promises?" I asked. "No," he admitted. "I trusted their word. My biggest regret." We talked for an hour. He explained how Axis Capital operated, buying respected small firms, cutting costs to the bone, then selling the hollowed-out husks for profit. "What should I do?" I asked. "Take control of your future, Emma," he said firmly. "You're the most talented architect I ever hired. Your work speaks for itself. Don't let them destroy what you've built." After hanging up, I stared at my wall of awards and certificates. Mr. Beckett was right. I'd spent 14 years making Haven Ridge successful. Maybe it was time to bet on myself. I couldn't sleep that night. Instead, I pulled out my portfolio and spread the designs across my living room floor. 14 years of my life's work lay before me. The Riverfront Community Center that won 3 sustainability awards. The West Side Library that made the cover of Architectural Digest. The affordable housing complex that changed lives in our city's poorest neighborhood. Each design contained pieces of my soul. Each building stood as my legacy. And Derek called me a tool. Outdated. Dispensable. I picked up my favorite design. The butterfly-shaped children's hospital wing that brought natural light to kids fighting for their lives. Parents had written me letters about how those sunlit rooms gave their children hope. Could I really walk away from everything I'd built? But could I stay and watch Derek destroy it all? My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. That's when it hit me. My career wasn't tied to Havenridge. My talent, my clients, my reputation, those were mine. Havenridge didn't own my abilities or relationships. They didn't own me. For the first time since the meeting, I felt a spark of determination. Maybe, just maybe, I could start fresh. Build something that couldn't be taken away. But first, I needed to know my options. The next morning, I called Maria Santos, a lawyer friend who specialized in employment law. We met for coffee at a small cafe far from Havenridge. They can't just cut your salary by 40% without cause, Maria said, reviewing my contract. And based on what you've told me, this sounds like constructive dismissal, making conditions so unbearable that you quit. Do I have options? I asked. She nodded. Several, but first, tell me about your non-compete clause. I handed her another document. She scanned it, then smiled. This is practically unenforceable in Georgia for architects under these circumstances, especially with how they're treating you. She looked up. Emma, you could start your own firm. My heart skipped. Really? Georgia law favors employee mobility. Since they're changing your terms significantly, you have grounds to leave and compete. You just can't take confidential documents or actively poach clients while still employed. For the first time in days, hope blossomed in my chest. What's my first step? I asked. Prepare. Get your finances in order. Line up potential clients quietly, but don't take any Havenridge materials or directly solicit their clients until you're gone. I nodded, a plan forming in my mind. Friday morning arrived. Instead of the salary reduction document Derek expected, I placed a different paper on his desk, my 2 weeks' notice. His smug expression faltered. What's this? My resignation, I said calmly. I won't be accepting the salary reduction. He leaned back, recovering his arrogant smile. Good luck out there, Emma. The market's tough for outdated architects. I met his gaze steadily. I appreciate your concern. Where are you going? Another firm? He asked, trying to sound casual. I'm exploring my options. His eyes narrowed. Remember your non-compete. I'm well aware of my legal rights, Derek. My voice remained professional, even as satisfaction warmed my chest. He stood, suddenly towering over me. You won't survive out there. You'll come crawling back in 6 months, begging for any position. I rose to my full height. I guess we'll see. Walking out of his office, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The fear was still there, swimming beneath the surface, but something stronger had emerged. Determination. Co-workers whispered as I packed my personal items. Some looked sad, others envious. Linda caught my eye across the room and gave me a subtle thumbs up. The first step of my plan was complete. 2 days after quitting, I found myself standing in front of a charming brick building downtown. The real estate agent unlocked the door, revealing a dusty but beautiful space with tall windows and wooden floors. It needs work, she warned, but the rent is reasonable since it's been vacant for months. Sunlight streamed through the dirty windows, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. In my mind's eye, I could already see it transformed. Drawing tables by the windows, a conference room in the back, a cozy reception area where clients would feel welcomed. It's perfect, I whispered. The agent looked surprised. Really? You don't want to see other options? I shook my head. Some decisions just feel right in your bones. That afternoon, I signed a 1-year lease with an option to extend. The landlord, Mr. Jenkins, seemed pleased to have a tenant who would respect the building's character. What's your firm's name? He asked as we finished the paperwork. I hesitated, then smiled. The building sat beside a small stone bridge over a creek. Riverstone Design Collective, I decided. As the sun set, I stood alone in my empty future office, terrified and exhilarated all at once. I had no clients, no employees, no guarantees, just a vision and 14 years of experience. I was starting from scratch at 42. I spent the next day setting up my new office with basic furniture. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from Thomas, one of Haven Ridge's junior architects. "Can we meet somewhere private? Bringing Megan." We gathered at a park 2 miles from Haven Ridge during lunch break. Thomas, in his late 20s, had been with the firm for 3 years. Megan, our 30-something design coordinator, had been there for 7. "We heard you're starting your own place," Thomas said, glancing around nervously. I nodded cautiously. News travels fast. "Derek cut my salary by 25%, he continued. "Megan's too." Megan leaned forward. "We want to come with you, Emma." I hadn't expected this so soon. "I can't promise stable salaries right away," I warned them. "It might be months before we're profitable." "We know," Megan replied, "but we'd rather take that risk than stay with Derek." Thomas nodded. "You taught me more in 3 years than I learned in all of architecture school. I'd follow you anywhere." My throat tightened with emotion. "I need 2 weeks to set up properly. Can you wait?" They exchanged glances, then nodded. "Others might join too," Megan whispered. "People are furious about what's happening." Hope flickered brighter. I wasn't alone in this fight. The peace was shattered 3 days later. My phone exploded with texts while I was meeting with a bank about a small business loan. "Derek knows," Linda's message screamed. I rushed back to my new office where an envelope had been taped to the door. Inside was a formal letter from Haven Ridge's lawyer threatening legal action for tortious interference and breach of fiduciary duty. Someone had betrayed my plans to Derek. My hands shook as I called Maria. After hearing about the letter, she laughed. "This is empty intimidation," she assured me. "They're trying to scare you because they're scared. You haven't done anything illegal." "But someone told them I'm recruiting people." "That doesn't matter legally. You haven't signed non-solicitation agreements with penalties. Besides, you didn't approach them. They approached you." I slumped in relief. "So what do I do with this letter?" "Frame it," she suggested. "It'll remind you why you left." After hanging up, I received another text, this time from Thomas. It was Kyle who told. He overheard us at lunch and went straight to Derek for brownie points. I wasn't surprised. Kyle had always been Derek's yes man. I taped the threat letter to my new office wall, not as a source of fear, but as motivation. The next morning, I met Mr. Baldwin for coffee. His real estate development company had been Haven Ridge's biggest client for a decade, and I'd designed 6 major projects for him personally. "I heard you left," he said, stirring sugar into his coffee. "Derek called me yesterday, assuring me nothing would change." My heart sank. I hadn't planned to poach clients, but I'd hoped some might follow naturally. "I wish you well," I said sincerely. "Derek has talented people." Mr. Baldwin studied me. "You know, Emma, I've worked with a lot of architects. Most see buildings as structures. You see them as experiences for the people inside." I blinked, surprised by his observation. "That Baldwin Heights project you designed," he continued, "we've had a 95% tenant retention rate, unheard of in luxury developments." He leaned forward. "I don't work with firms, Emma. I work with people I trust." My pulse quickened. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I have 3 new projects starting next quarter." He slid a business card across the table. "Call me when you're settled in your new place." As he left, I sat frozen in disbelief. Mr. Baldwin's projects alone could sustain my new firm for a year. When I finally stood up, my legs were shaking, but this time with excitement. The next day brought another letter, this one delivered by courier. Printed on expensive Haven Ridge letterhead, it accused me of stealing clients and misappropriating company relationships. It threatened immediate legal action unless I signed an agreement to not work with any Haven Ridge clients for 3 years. I called Maria immediately, forwarding her the letter. "This is getting ridiculous," she said after reading it. "They're trying to bully you because they know they can't legally stop you. Under Georgia law, client relationships belong to neither party. Clients choose who they work with. So I can ignore this?" "Not quite. Send a formal response through me. We'll remind them that intimidation can constitute harassment and that clients have free will." I agreed, relief washing over me. Then anger set in. Derek wasn't just trying to protect business. He wanted to crush me completely. That evening, I framed the second letter and hung it beside the first on my office wall. Each threat became fuel for my determination. Each attempt to intimidate me reinforced why I had to succeed. When Thomas and Megan visited later to discuss joining Riverstone officially, they noticed the framed letters. "That's bold," Thomas said, pointing to my wall of threats. "No," I corrected him. "That's motivation." 2 weeks after my departure, the cracks at Haven Ridge began to show. Linda, still working there, kept me updated. "It's chaos," she reported over lunch. "Derek assigned your projects to junior staff who aren't ready. Clients are complaining about missed deadlines and sloppy work." "That's unfortunate," I said, genuinely sad. I'd built those client relationships carefully over years. Linda lowered her voice. "The Parkview Hotel renovation? Kyle messed up the structural plans so badly that the contractor called Derek directly to complain." I winced. "The Parkview was a historic building requiring specialized knowledge." "The thing is," Linda continued, "no one blames you for leaving. Derek keeps telling clients you were redundant, but they're asking specifically where you went." My phone buzzed with an email. Another former client reaching out. "Heard you started your own firm. Can we meet?" This marked the 5th such message this week. I hadn't solicited any of them. They were finding me through industry connections and word of mouth. My reputation, built over 14 years, was proving stronger than Derek's attempts to damage it. "I should get back," Linda said, checking her watch. "But Emma, everyone can see Haven Ridge falling apart without you." I smiled sadly. I took no joy in the firm's struggles, but I couldn't deny the validation. The surprising success of Riverstone's early days attracted attention. 3 weeks after opening, I received a visit from Marcus Chen, CEO of Prominence Design Group, one of the largest architecture firms in the Southeast. "Impressive start," he said, touring my modest office. "You've secured more clients in a month than most new firms get in a year." I thanked him, wondering why he'd come personally rather than sending an associate. He didn't keep me waiting long. "I'll be direct, Emma. Prominence wants to acquire Riverstone." My jaw dropped. "We just opened, and already making waves." He handed me a folder. "Our offer. Riverstone becomes a Prominence subsidiary. You get an executive position, significant salary, benefits, and resources to grow." The numbers made me dizzy. Financial security, instant prestige, none of the risks of running my own business. "Why now?" I asked, suspicious. Marcus smiled. "Call it strategic opportunism. You've proven your worth, and we'd love to take clients from Haven Ridge while they're vulnerable." That comment clarified everything. This wasn't about my talent. It was about using me as a weapon in corporate combat. "I need time to consider," I said politely. After he left, I stared at the offer. It promised everything except the one thing I truly wanted: freedom to create on my own terms. I shredded the document that evening. 1 month after opening Riverstone's doors, I stood before my small but mighty team. Thomas and Megan had officially joined last week. Today, Linda sat nervously among them, having finally resigned from Haven Ridge. "Welcome to the official first day of Riverstone Design Collective," I announced, popping a bottle of champagne. "It's not much yet, but it's ours." We clinked glasses in our still sparse office, 4 people against an established firm backed by corporate millions. The odds seemed impossible. "I can only offer modest salaries to start," I admitted, "but you'll all have profit sharing once we're stable." "We're not here for the money," Linda said. "We're here because we believe in you." Thomas raised his glass. "To creative freedom." "To treating people with respect," Megan added. My throat tightened with emotion. "To new beginnings." After our small celebration, we got down to business. Our first major proposal was due tomorrow. A community arts center that could put Riverstone on the map. We worked late into the night, pooling our ideas, challenging each other, laughing despite the pressure. Looking around at their focused faces, I realized we'd already succeeded in one critical way. We'd created a workplace built on mutual respect. The finished proposal surpassed anything I could have created alone. I arrived at the office early to find Mr. Jenkins, our landlord, waiting nervously. "Emma, we need to talk," he said, fidgeting with his hat. "A man from Haven Ridge contacted me yesterday. Offered double your rent if I'd break your lease." My stomach dropped. "Derek?" He nodded. Said you were in financial trouble and would default soon anyway. Another attack aimed at destroying my new beginning. Derek was becoming desperate. Are you going to take his offer? I asked quietly. Mr. Jenkins looked offended. My father owned this building. He taught me loyalty matters more than quick money. He straightened his shoulders. I told him to take a hike. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. He smiled. Actually, I mentioned I have other properties needing renovation designs. Your competitor didn't seem interested in helping with those. I grinned. I'd be happy to look at those properties, Mr. Jenkins. Call me Harold, he said, shaking my hand. Later, I told my team about Derek's latest tactic. Instead of being discouraged, they seemed energized by the news. He wouldn't try to sabotage us if we weren't a threat, Thomas pointed out. Megan nodded. Every dirty move proves we're winning. Though Derek's tactics were troubling, they revealed an important truth. Riverstone had him running scared. The call came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I put it on speakerphone so the whole team could hear. Miss Bailey, this is Councilwoman Jackson. I'm pleased to inform you that Riverstone Design Collective has been selected for the Arts District Promenade project. Gasps filled our small office. We'd beaten 5 other firms, including Haven Ridge, for this prestigious public project. Thank you, Councilwoman, I managed to say professionally. We're honored. After the call ended, we erupted in cheers. This wasn't just any project. It was high-profile, community-focused work that would be seen by thousands. The kind that builds reputations. We did it, Thomas shouted, high-fiving Megan. Linda wiped away tears. The committee chose us over established firms. I checked my phone as it buzzed with a text from my contact at City Hall. FYI, Derek threw a fit when he heard, said the selection was rigged. I smiled. Derek had assumed the project was his, counting on his connections rather than quality design. He'd presented a safe, uninspired concept, while we'd offered something innovative and community-centered. That evening, we celebrated at a local restaurant. Looking around at my team's joyful faces, I realized something important. We weren't just surviving. We were thriving. And this was just the beginning. I was helping a client when Thomas burst into my office, laptop in hand. Emma, you need to see this, he said, his face grim. He turned the screen toward me. Our Google business listing was flooded with 1-star reviews, all posted within the last 24 hours. Unprofessional firm, missed deadlines. Terrible designs, avoid at all costs. Stole ideas from previous employer. My heart sank. We'd only had 3 clients so far, all delighted with our work. These are fake, Megan said, reading over my shoulder, but they could scare away potential clients. Linda was already on her phone. My friend's daughter works in digital marketing. She says we can report these to Google, but it takes time to remove them. I studied the pattern and wording, too coordinated to be random. I clicked on one reviewer's profile, created just yesterday. It's Derek, I said quietly. This is exactly his style, attacking from the shadows. By afternoon, we'd found 15 fake reviews. Worse, they appeared just as we were finalizing negotiations with 2 major clients. We spent hours responding professionally to each review. We have no record of working with you. Please contact us directly to discuss your concerns. Then I had an idea. Thomas, can you trace the IP addresses? He nodded. Already on it. 3 definitely came from Haven Ridge's network. Evidence in hand, I called Maria. Derek had finally crossed a clear legal line. The fake review crisis took an unexpected turn the next morning. I arrived to find our Google rating had jumped from 2.1 stars to 4.8 overnight. Dozens of genuine 5-star reviews had appeared. Emma Bailey designed our corporate headquarters with incredible vision. Riverstone's team shows unmatched professionalism and creativity. So glad to see this talented architect leading her own firm. I scrolled through in amazement. Former clients, industry colleagues, even contractors I'd worked with, all publicly supporting Riverstone. How did this happen? I asked, bewildered. Linda blushed. I might have sent a few emails yesterday, letting people know about the fake review situation. The phone rang constantly that day, more clients wanting to work with the firm that had earned such loyalty. By afternoon, the fake reviews were buried under authentic praise. Even better, Maria called with news. Google is removing the fraudulent reviews, and I traced 3 directly to Haven Ridge's IP address. We now have solid evidence of business defamation. That evening, a former Haven Ridge client signed with us, specifically mentioning the review drama. Any firm that inspires such passionate support from past clients must be doing something right. Derek's smear campaign had backfired spectacularly, turning a potential disaster into our biggest marketing boost yet. Sometimes, I realized, your greatest asset is the genuine relationships you've built along the way. 8 weeks after I opened Riverstone's doors, Haven Ridge began to crumble. Linda's former assistant called in tears. Axis Capital was conducting emergency reviews after losing 7 major clients in 2 months. They're blaming Derek for the mass exodus, she reported. Executives from headquarters arrived yesterday without warning. Later that afternoon, Mr. Baldwin called. Thought you'd want to know. Haven Ridge completely botched the Preston Tower revisions. The client called me for recommendations, and I suggested your firm. Word spread quickly through Atlanta's architecture community. Haven Ridge, once respected for quality and reliability, was bleeding talent and clients. 3 more designers had quit. Projects were falling behind schedule. Mistakes were multiplying as inexperienced staff struggled under pressure. I felt no joy in their collapse. Too many good people still worked there. But I couldn't deny a sense of validation. What Derek had dismissed as outdated had been the firm's foundation. Experience, relationship building, and attention to detail. That evening, after everyone left, I sat alone in my office reviewing Riverstone's growing project board. In just 2 months, we'd secured enough work to keep us busy for a year. We were already planning to hire 2 more staff. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Axis Capital launches internal investigation into Haven Ridge management. Derek's reckoning had begun. The email arrived from an anonymous address. You should see these. Derek deserves what's coming. Attached were dozens of internal Haven Ridge documents and emails. I recognized the sender's writing style immediately. Derek's assistant, Jessica. The files revealed everything. Derek's deliberate targeting of veteran employees, his lies to Axis about performance issues, even instructions to fabricate reasons for salary cuts. Most damning was an email where he bragged about clearing out the dinosaurs to make room for cheap, fresh graduates we can control. There was also evidence of him ordering staff to create the fake reviews, with the chilling instruction, make sure it can't be traced back to us. My hands shook. This was the smoking gun that proved his systematic campaign against loyal employees wasn't about industry standards, but callous cost-cutting and ego. I forwarded everything to Maria without opening most files. Is this usable? I asked when she called. Legally complicated, she admitted, but devastating if it reached Axis Capital's board. I felt a moment of temptation. I could destroy Derek completely with these documents, but using stolen internal communications might cross an ethical line, even if he deserved exposure. Let me think about next steps, I told Maria. There has to be a clean way to use this information. 3 days after receiving Jessica's files, I met with Maria to finalize our strategy. Rather than using the documents directly, we crafted a careful legal letter to Axis Capital's general counsel. We cite specific instances of defamation, tortious interference, and harassment, Maria explained. Without revealing our sources, we note that evidence exists of intentional misconduct by Derek Sloan, including the fake review campaign. The letter didn't threaten a lawsuit directly, but made it clear we could pursue damages if necessary. This puts the ball in their court, Maria said. They'll have to investigate to protect themselves. Within hours of delivery, Axis Capital's lawyers requested an emergency meeting. They arrived with a settlement offer and non-disclosure agreement. $50,000 to close this matter quietly, their lead attorney proposed. No admission of wrongdoing. I stared at the document, remembering Derek's smug face when he called me a tool in front of everyone. They wanted to buy my silence with money while he continued destroying careers. No, I said firmly. I don't want hush money. I want accountability. The lawyers exchanged nervous glances. What exactly are you seeking, Miss Bailey? A full investigation into Derek's management practices and a formal acknowledgement of what happened. They left promising to consider my position. Maria smiled. They're scared. You've got leverage. The news broke on a rainy Tuesday morning. Axis Capital announces leadership changes at Haven Ridge Architecture. The press release used corporate language to mask the reality. but the message was clear. Derek had been removed. My phone exploded with texts from current and former Haven Ridge employees. The official story was that Derek had chosen to pursue other opportunities, but everyone knew he'd been fired. Later that day, I received a formal letter from Axis Capital acknowledging management irregularities under Derek's leadership and expressing regret for any unprofessional treatment experienced by former employees. They also confirmed they were reviewing all recent terminations and salary reductions. Thomas burst into my office, waving his phone. "Derek's LinkedIn says he's seeking new opportunities," he reported gleefully. "And check this out. 3 major firms have publicly stated they have no openings for him." Word had spread throughout the industry. No one wanted to hire an executive who had destroyed a respected firm's reputation in just a few months. I felt an odd mix of emotions. Relief that justice had come, satisfaction seeing Derek face consequences, but also a strange emptiness. For weeks, pushing back against Derek's attacks had driven me. Now that chapter was closed. It was time to focus entirely on building Riverstone's future, not reacting to Haven Ridge's past. 6 months after opening Riverstone Design Collective, we moved to a larger office. Our team had grown to 12 people. Our project board was full, and we'd even won a regional design award for the Arts District Promenade. The new space had high ceilings, large windows, and enough room for our expanding vision. As I watched the team setting up their desks, I felt a surge of pride. We'd built something special. A firm where talent was respected, creativity flourished, and everyone had a voice. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. It was Janet Wright, Axis Capital's new regional director. "Emma, I'll be direct. Haven Ridge is struggling to recover from Derek's damage. We need someone to right the ship." She paused. "We'd like to contract Riverstone as consultants to help rebuild." I almost laughed at the irony. The company that had allowed Derek to humiliate me now wanted my help fixing his mess. "I appreciate the offer," I said carefully, "but Riverstone is focused on our own growth path." "We could make it very worth your while," she pressed. "Sometimes success is the best response to mistreatment," I replied. "I wish Haven Ridge well, but my future is here." After hanging up, I walked through our buzzing office, watching my team collaborate with enthusiasm and respect. This was my victory, not helping those who had discarded me. 1 year to the day after Derek called me a tool in that painful meeting, I stood in Riverstone's conference room addressing our team of 15 talented professionals. The walls displayed our completed projects and awards. The energy in the room vibrated with creative possibility. "When I started this firm, people said we wouldn't last 6 months. What I told them. Today, we're one of the fastest-growing architecture firms in the region." Applause filled the room. We had surpassed even my most optimistic projections. Our reputation for innovative, thoughtful design had spread beyond Atlanta. We were being asked to submit proposals for projects across the Southeast. Linda brought in a cake decorated with our logo. As everyone celebrated, I slipped away to my office for a quiet moment. On my desk sat a framed photo of our original 4-person team, taken on our first day. I thought about how being called a tool had initially felt like the worst moment of my career. Now I understood it had actually been the beginning of something better. That humiliation had forced me to value myself when others didn't. Sometimes being broken is how you discover your strength. I rejoined the celebration, smiling as Thomas outlined his vision for our next big project. Looking around at these people who had taken the leap with me, I felt content in a way I never had at Haven Ridge, even in my best days there. The firm Derek tried to destroy had become something stronger, more creative, and more successful than before. We weren't just surviving, we were redefining what an architecture firm could be. I raised my glass for a final toast. "They thought they broke me," I said, meeting each person's eyes. "They only made me stronger." We clinked glasses amid cheers and laughter. Sometimes, I realized, the tools that others try to discard turn out to be the most valuable of all.